All right, I'm on my way to see Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, right? It's the stupid ass title. Anyway, feeling a all-time low confidence levels in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but Sam Raimi, and Raimi we trust, we're gonna give it a chance. Hi everyone, I'm Dom Griffin, I'm a film critic, and you're watching the Armchair Auteur. This is a YouTube channel where I do movie reviews, video essays, talk about storytelling, things like that. So if you're into movies or movie adjacent popular culture and like to see somebody explore those things, pick those things apart, you should consider subscribing. Today I'm reviewing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the newest MCU movie. I don't know where we are now, like 24 or 5, I don't know how far into this franchise we are, but it's the newest Marvel movie, and it is a movie that I didn't quite hate, but I am somewhat confounded by. As usual, I will be courteous and not spoil anything about the movie, because that's like half the thing about movies for nerds, is like you can't tell them anything about them, otherwise they'll get mad. There is, however, one specific scene in the movie that I do want to talk about, and there's no way to talk about it without heavily spoiling it, so I'll do that way later in the video and I'll warn you beforehand. It's been 6 years since Scott Derrickson's initial Doctor Strange film, but Benedict Cumberbatch is finally getting another solo movie. But, as you already know, there's no such thing as a Marvel solo movie anymore. So this movie also features Wanda Maximoff, furthering her arc from WandaVision, while picking up ideas and concepts first explored in Loki, then picked up further in Spider-Man No Way Home. The result is a movie that picks up Stephen Strange's arc, but has to tether its new crossover narrative to a film that seems so much more distant than it really is. Michael Stuhlbarg, Rachel McAdams, and Chiwetel Ejiofor all make appearances, but it was so much harder for me to even remember what their characters were initially like, or where their relationships with our protagonists left off. I initially thought about revisiting the first Doctor Strange because I haven't seen it since I went to a press screening for it in 2016, so like 6 years ago. I have not rewatched any parts of it even. I liked it well enough, I just didn't remember it very well. But I haven't had a lot of time lately, as you guys can tell, and additionally, my Marvel burnout is like more intense than ever. At the end of March, I got sent screeners for Moon Knight, a show I truly didn't feel like watching, but I didn't want to disobey Daddy Oscar Isaac.
I gave you an order!
But the show turned out to be fucking trash. I watched the first 4 episodes back to back a week or so before it aired, and ended up not even making a video about it because I just hated it so goddamn much. And I couldn't think of a way to constructively criticize it without retreading thoughts and ideas from other videos about MCU stuff that I've done. It would have been really easy, actually, to make something toxic and humorous about how much I think the show sucks and how much I hate it and how dumb it is, but I just didn't really want to be that guy, you know? It's the same reason I actually considered not even watching Doctor Strange 2. The other night, some stuff leaked from the movie, as I'm sure you saw if you were on Twitter at all. There's a bunch of memes about it and stuff. My friend Justin, put it onto my radar and asked me if I'd seen the leaks, and I was like, no, I'm seeing the movie tomorrow night, like whatever, I'll just watch the movie, no big deal, I don't really care. Leaks and spoilers don't really bother me as a person, but if I'm about to watch a movie 24 hours later, like who cares, I'll just go see the movie. But it's the internet, so I saw them anyway, and there was this one particular leaked piece of video from a scene from the movie, and it made me so mad. I was so angry watching it. Like, I couldn't believe it was a real scene from a real movie, much less a real scene from a real movie directed by Sam Raimi. And I love Sam Raimi. I've talked on the channel before about how big a fan I am of his dynamic camera work and inventive approach to storytelling, so obviously, seeing the man that gave us the Spider-Man trilogy return to the genre he helped make a staple was too hard an opportunity to pass up, even if it's obviously a paycheck job. So now, having seen the finished film, 2 things are true. Thing 1, Sam Raimi, more so than every other director in the MCU pantheon, more so than Ryan Coogler, more so than Chloe Zhao, was successful in sort of bringing in his own like authorial style to these movies. There are parts of this movie that are so thoroughly Sam Raimi that it is impressive. Like, I'm amazed he was able to do his thing within this world. But 2, it just wasn't enough. You can't fight the machine. And I'm just very over the machine.
Who said fuck the machine? Fuck the machine? Fuck the machine! Fuck the machine!
That lead scene, by the way, is in the movie, and it is actually exactly as terrible as it looked. Like, I thought maybe it'll look different. No, it's horrible, but we'll talk about it later. First, some positivity. One, Benedict Cumberbatch is actually really good in the lead, and I've enjoyed him in these movies more than many of his contemporaries. Elizabeth Olsen is also quite good, but she's written so poorly and inconsistently that it kind of doesn't matter. But they're both interesting and fun to watch, and I really applaud their work here. Two, every time Sam Raimi goes sicko mode, the movie absolutely comes alive. The action is largely more exciting, and it really feels like you're watching a guy flex his muscles and remind you who the fuck he is. Not every bit lands, obviously, and there's some parts that are laughable and weird, but I liked them because I could feel the effort. It looked like more than a goddamn Hyundai ad. It's not as restrained and controlled or impressive as the Batman, nor is it as bug-fuck insane as the drone footage and Ambulance, but it is the least embarrassed I've been watching action in an MCU movie in ages. And three, we got the positivity out of the way. Okay, normally this is where I would go, okay, cool, time to get negative. But I don't really want to. I need you guys to understand that when I saw that leaked footage, I was 100% ready to empty the clip at this movie and bury it 6 feet under this earth. Like, I was so charged up and just prepared to like annihilate this movie. I was so offended and irked, and I just thought it was the stupidest shit I've ever seen. I was ready, dude. I was ready. And even after having seen it, the truth is, I don't think it's a very good movie. I don't think it works. I think it's ungood. I think it is poorly cobbled together from reshoots. I think it is shoddily constructed. I think it's very badly written, and maybe that's just from rewrites from the reshoots, but the writing is piss poor. It features some of like the dumbest, cringiest, most uncomfortable expository dialogue I've seen in a movie in ages. There's entirely too many scenes in this movie where I just threw my hands up at the screen, where I was just like, why are they doing this? Why is this even happening? Why are they saying that? Why? Individual set pieces are fantastic. Like, if you just cut out certain action bits and just like, if they're on YouTube later and you just watch those scenes in a vacuum, they're exemplary. And even the ones that don't quite land are impressive because they're trying for something new, and that's exciting. Like, the parts that work are pretty good, but the parts that don't are like actively horrendous. There are moments in this movie that look so like high budget and luxury and gorgeous, and then in the same frame at the same time look deeply cheap and terrible and flat and lifeless. And it just, I don't want to nitpick and rant about it. I don't want to do that, particularly because there's no real way to do that without spoiling like every inch of the movie. And I know that people don't really want the movie spoiled for them a few days before it even comes out. I don't want to do that. I get it. So I'll make a deal with you. I have one final important observation to make about this movie and my thoughts about it, and like why I think it doesn't work, and what that is, what that entire phenomenon is. And I think that observation is constructive and not toxic. And it says some things that I really want to say, and I want to share that with you guys, so I'm going to. But if you came here for the bile, if you want the vitriol, if you want that anger, I'm going to do that too. I'm going to talk about that scene that made me so angry, but I'm going to do it afterwards. So like, if you just came here and you don't want the movie spoiled for you in any way, shape, or form, I have one other bit that I really want to say, like my piece about this movie and what my feelings about it are. And then after that, if that's all you came here for, you can leave. You're totally free to do that. If you want like the full Monty, stick around. I'm gonna go quietly scorched earth. It's been a long day. I'm not gonna like be screaming and stuff, but I was very mad, and I still kind of am. So before the screening, I was at, well, right before the screening, they held a smaller screening for the trailer for Avatar: Way of Water, the sequel to James Cameron's Avatar that I'm very excited to see, and the teaser is actually quite beautiful. I thought it was lovely. I was there with my friend Julian, and he and I were just talking about the movie industry, as we do. We were talking about the fact that because such a big segment of the movie industry is now depending on superhero movies and the specific way the MCU actually functions, a lot of the movie industry is now like the comic book industry. For, I can't say for better, for worse. If you didn't grow up reading comics, or you didn't spend a significant period of your adult life reading comics, you might not be aware of some of the quirks and weird marketing rhythms and creative decisions that are like very specific to the comic book industry that are now proliferating in movies, and like it's weird. But if you did spend a lot of your life with comics, you could spot this shit from a mile away. So when I left Doctor Strange, I kept trying to figure out like, how do I articulate this? How do I say like, how do I share with people like what it is that doesn't work without talking about the plot? And like, There's a very simple thing, and it requires a very short anecdote. When I was in high school, Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely took over the adjectiveless X-Men comic with issue 114, retitling it New X-Men. My favorite writer and one of my favorite artists on my second favorite comic book property, I was in heaven. And when Quitely was drawing the book, he delivered some of the most magnificent visuals I'd ever seen on the printed page. But artists that good, especially in the modern era, have real difficulty keeping up with the rigors of a monthly comic. You have to draw 22 pages every month for a long period of time, and that was a schedule Quitely just couldn't keep. So some issues were drawn by Quitely, and they were incredible, and some were drawn by other artists, like, for instance, Igor Kordy, and they, well, weren't. To be fair, as I got older, I grew to really like Igor Kordy's art, even though it's like uglier and more abrasive. I do like the way he lays a page out and stuff, so this may be not the best example, but in the comic industry, this happens all the time. Like a big superstar artist gets announced to draw a book, and they'll do like an issue or two, maybe, and they fall behind schedule, and then just someone else comes in and takes over. And when it ever gets collected, and you get like the trade paperback, you'll read it, and you'll read like 1 or 2 or 3 chapters that look like, oh, they look just amazing. And then there'll be one that just looks flat and like boring and or outright ugly. And it's because oftentimes the artist that is being brought in to like finish the book and get it out on time doesn't care about like the visual language of the rest of the story, or they do care but they don't have the time, it's just a paycheck job, whatever. They just come in and the book is done, you can tell what happens, but it feels like you're reading something else entirely. That's what Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness feels like. It feels like they announced a cool new Doctor Strange book and they got this superstar artist that we all love to draw it, and parts of it are incredible and like oh my god, like the design work and the layouts and everything are so special. And then other parts are like awful, like just genuinely awful. But it didn't happen because Sam Raimi can't keep up with the production schedule, or he doesn't have it anymore, he's too old, or he's too picky or something. It's not that. Like, he did the job. It's that the product has to be so tightly controlled, so tightly integrated into a bunch of other products, that there's just going to be a lot of tinkering. There's going to be a lot of interference, and that's very common at this level of filmmaking. Like, if you're going to make a movie for more than $100 million, they're going to give you notes, they're going to make you reshoot stuff, they're going to edit stuff. Like, that's just life now. Robert Eggers found that out the hard way recently with The Northman. He seemed really shocked that spending $70 million in a movie about Vikings would mean that people would make you do test screenings. Like, he was like, what? Like, yeah, dude, it's $70 million. They want to get it back. But watching it in a movie, where you're watching a movie and you can literally feel, this is Sam Raimi, this is not, this is Sam Raimi, this is not. And like, obviously, even the parts that aren't are him. Like, it's a job. He directed it. I don't know if there were reshoots that he was not a part of. I don't know all the backstage stuff. I don't really care. I'm just saying that there are parts that feel alive. There are parts that feel like Sam Raimi back in the saddle, doing it up, and it's really entertaining, and it's really fun. It makes you want to see him do this again and more. And there's other parts, the connective narrative tissue in between his set pieces, the dialogue, the exposition, the moving the story around, the pacing, the structure, is all so bad. Like, it's comically bad. And it's not the sort of thing you can like easily ignore, because I kept finding myself in this roller coaster of being like, yeah, it was who wants to experience that throughout a movie, you know? I mean, some people probably will. I say some people, and the truth is, it's probably a lot of people. This movie's probably going to make a lot of money. It's probably going to have a pretty good RT score. It's probably going to be pretty beloved. You're going to see a lot of memes about it. You're going to see a lot of like gushing on Twitter, and that's okay. I'm not judging those people or implying that they're idiots or something like that. Everyone likes different stuff, whatever. It's just that for the longest time, I thought people would get sick of this shit. I thought that we would get to a point where we would have a tipping point, and like some filmmaker would come in and try to make this like exciting and original and like fail, and then people would see the seams of what they tried to do and just kind of come to terms with like, man, I miss when stuff was like this. I miss when stuff was exciting and original and different. I don't want this anymore. But that's not true. They still want it. They're going to keep wanting it. And there's nothing we can do about that, really. My feeling is this. If you're on the fence or feel burnt out by this stuff the way I do, check out Everything Everywhere All at Once. One of the best movies of the year, deals with very similar themes, ideas, and concepts for 1/10 of the budget with roughly 1,000 times the heart and originality. It's weird, it's quirky, it's not going to be for everyone. I definitely think a lot of the people who are seeing it in this current wave are not going to like it as much because there's been so much hype behind it, but I thought it was incredible. I think a lot of people will like it, and it's a very similar wheelhouse to this movie, only at no point during that movie did I feel like someone came in and like was fucking up the process. At no point in that movie did I feel like someone at A24 was like, make it different, make it like this. Like it feels like whatever the guys wanted to make it. And there's parts that don't work, sure, but it feels like part of that. It feels like a singular vision. It feels like a singular vision, and like I miss that. And I know I'm not trying to get into the weeds about the auteur theory. I know that like singular vision doesn't imply there's one artist who's doing everything. I don't mean that. I guess what I mean is unified vision, like the sense that everyone was kind of going in the same direction together to make something special. This doesn't feel like that. Doctor Strange doesn't feel like that. The actors are good. Like Sam Raimi doing a good job. The script, not great. Some of the dialogue, not great. There's a lot of things that are just not great. But it's the fact that it's so disjointed and inconsistent that bothers me so much. Sometimes the best parts of a movie will completely make up for the worst parts of a movie. But here, the best parts of the movie aren't good enough to make up for the worst parts of the movie. The worst parts of the movie drag the entire thing down considerably for me. And it's a shame. Okay, this video's probably already gonna be a little bit too long to begin with, but here's the thing. Spoiler time, chapter break, whatever. We're gonna talk about this one fucking scene. Okay. The one fucking goddamn scene that leaked online that I saw was what they've been teasing from the trailers. In the trailers, they keep letting you know that Patrick Stewart's in the movie and he's playing Xavier, and that because this movie travels in the multiverse, that he's going to interact with some characters we've maybe never seen before. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, I guess, whatever. They've seeded this type of stuff with like the What If cartoon. In Loki, they explained that this type of it's become normal. They brought in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield already. Like I get it. Like this is where we're at now. That's fine. I was accepting that there was going to be Patrick Stewart as Xavier, and that they were probably going to do some kind of scene where Doctor Strange is in another reality. He meets like the Illuminati tribunal shit from like the fucking Bendis Avengers comics of the mid-2000s. Like, you know, it's like this secret cabal of important figures in the Marvel Universe who get together and like pass judgment on stuff. I was like, okay, that could be cool. And I sort of assumed it would just be like the actual Illuminati from the comics. So I thought, oh, well, Namor's supposed to be in Black Panther 2. Maybe this will be how they introduce that actor. Like, I was like, oh, like Tony Stark is in it. Like, so maybe they could like have like a quick cameo from Robert Downey Jr. I didn't think they'd do that, but I thought they could, whatever. Because they got Patrick Stewart, why not? I was like, okay, that's going to be like a dumb, weird thing to fit into a 2-hour and 6-minute movie that already has this much other stuff stuffed into it, but we'll see what happens. But no, that is not the Illuminati they chose to use. Instead, they cobbled together this like what if style Illuminati. First of all, they have this scene, I can't remember if it's in the trailer or not, but it made me so fucking mad, where like Baron Mordo or whatever the fucking Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, a variant of his character, shows up and he's like, Stephen, the Illuminati will see you now. And then Stephen Strange is like, the Illuma-whatty? Which is like, fucking, you come from a universe where the concept of the Illuminati exists. Like, what do you fucking, anyway. He meets them, and it's Black Bolt, which is fine. Black Bolt, it's the guy that played Black Bolt in the Human show that nobody watched, only has like a comic accurate costume that looks kind of like shit. It's Captain Marvel, but it's Lashana Lynch from the first Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau's mother, and like this is a world where she's Captain Marvel, which is cool. I like that actress. Captain Carter, it's Peggy. You know, it's Haley Atwell as the British Captain America with the Captain Britain, whatever, the British shield, the jetpack, and all that shit. That's nice. Good for her. Slay. And then Xavier, it's Patrick Stewart and the gigantic comical bright yellow wheelchair from the Jim Lee run in the 90s in the cartoon. Really absurd. Nostalgia. And then it's John Krasinski as Reed Richards. Reed Richards has never appeared in the MCU. And in this variant of the world where there's a Reed Richards, like in the Fantastic Four, it's John Krasinski. He looks like shit. He looks weird. The costume sucks. He sucks. I think John Krasinski sucks. I know that fans want him to play the part, but he shouldn't. He sucks. And it just looks terrible. And when I saw the leaked footage, I was like, why the fuck does this look like The Legends of Tomorrow? Like, not to shit on the CW, but like, that's a TV show with like a TV show budget. Why does this look like that in the middle of a $200 million movie? And I thought it could just, if it's a leak, it might just be unfinished, whatever. It might look better on the big screen. And no. It didn't look better. It looked like shit. It looked fucking awful. And it just fucking perturbed me that they put this in a movie. Like, if the whole thing was like, oh, we don't know who's going to play Xavier in the new version of the X-Men, so we got Patrick Stewart. If you don't know who's going to play Reed Richards in the new Fantastic Four movie, why wouldn't you just get the dude that played him in the fucking other Fox movie? I can't remember his name. Ian Griffith or something? That guy. Or, no, don't get Miles Teller. That would have been worse. But, you get what I'm saying. Like, that's the whole, like, get the old actor to come back, right? If they are going to put Krasinski in the Fantastic Four movie, like if he's taken over for director since John Watts left, that is awful and bad casting, and I think it's terrible. But I don't think they're really doing that. I think this is just like a bit. And it's like a bit that makes everything around it feel silly. And the reason that's bad is because this entire set piece with the Illuminati is like important to like the theme of the story, and there's like a lot of like dark stuff involved in it, but I couldn't take any of it seriously because John Krasinski looked so fucking stupid. And it ruined the whole, it was fucking awful. I was still mad. I'm mad right now. It was a couple of hours ago that I watched this movie. It's terrible. The only things redeeming about it is that the scene very quickly devolves into like the fight from the pilot of Invincible, basically, where like Wanda shows up and just like murders this entire alternate universe Illuminati, and like Raimi goes like full Raimi with the violence, and it's like actually kind of tight. But everything preceding it was so shitty. And even parts of it actually are still shitty. Like, it's just so shitty. It's so dumb. To me, it just felt indicative of, like, this is where the MCU is going. They're going to just rely so heavily on trying to squeeze in moments that will pop the lowest common denominator until that just becomes the whole product. And sure, in Doctor Strange, it's only some of the product. But at some point, it's going to overtake it even more than it has here. And it'll just be borderline unwatchable. So yeah, those are my thoughts. If you stayed for the rant part, cool. If you didn't, that's also cool. I don't know what I'm going to do anymore with the MCU stuff. You guys don't have to watch these movies, and neither do I. Like, I think going forward, I'm not going to review a Marvel movie unless I'm like specifically asked to by like a publication, or if I personally really want to. Like this one, I really was curious, and I'm, I like the Raimi stuff, so I'm glad I watched it. I don't know if I'm going to do that for Thor. I might not. I don't know if I'm going to do that for the other movies. So I just think that maybe just because I know they get the best reviews and stuff, maybe I just will give up on that and not care and just not cover these movies if I don't want to, because I just don't want to keep adding to this repetitive, weird, crummy discourse, They're not making me watch these, so maybe I shouldn't do it anymore. So yeah, those are my thoughts about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. You already know if you're going to see it or not. If you're going to go see it, man. But like, I wouldn't. Maybe just wait 6 months for like it to come online, and then you can skip through all the crappy parts and just watch the Sam Raimi stuff. So I want to put together a Sam Raimi supercut. That'll be tight. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you again, as always, for watching this video. If you'd like to give it a thumbs up, if you have any thoughts about it or the movie, or questions even, just ask me in the comments below. I'll try to respond to the one I can. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the little bell icon to get notifications when I put out new videos. I will try to get back to putting videos out a little more regularly, but we'll see. I don't want to make any promises and disappoint anybody. But thank you guys for sticking with me and rocking with me and supporting me and just being the best, like for real. Like, really love you guys. All right, that does it for me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.